Asterisk audio text log from the Walker, aka Lost Realms Vanjik. The system detects message is important. The Walker never uses the network. The network is Honard, playing audio text log. Asterisk. I have spent much time watching from afar and conversing with the gods of my timeline, ever since the one we call imposter started targeting the weaker timelines even in my realm. We the gods of the Lost Realms have signed a truce, and we have cultivated our power to break through the parts of history that have been lost to us on the imposter's true story. I'm sorry for remaining silent on this information for so long, but even with all the gods' collective power, the cloaking tech the imposter used is still far too powerful, and we only have but a small part of the story. But from what we have viewed, it seems the current theory on this Vanjik being left behind is entirely accurate and truthful, but the scope of his power is a lie. He was at one point the storyteller. But when we broke through and viewed the history of his cloaked timeline, we saw a grand-scale event occurred. The great multiversal war we fought that one time. It happened again. The timeline we fought the original war in, although we did not know it at the time, was in fact the original timeline. The storyteller timeline. We were called upon that day to save the original timeline. But when the first Vanjik left, it left behind a void that needed filling. And that's how we got the imposter timeline. But without the original storyteller to specify the construction of that timeline, it causes certain parts of history and memory to be rearranged. The cloaking tech and the memory of the storyteller separating his timeline not only stayed in place but got shifted to a much earlier part of his timeline. With the cloaking tech in place and the false memories that didn't truly happen, the monsters we fight, the Mothmen, the Wendigos, the Skinwalkers, the zombies, etc., they started their version of the original multiversal war several years earlier than when it was supposed to. And then when we did not show up, it created the second divergent timeline of the original timeline. In the second divergent timeline, the monsters wanted revenge for everything we had done to them so many times throughout history. They took that timeline Vanjik, and with the help of a third party we can't identify, they took his corpse and crammed it into the supercomputer that the Fallout version of us found. They forced that specific divergent version of the storyteller to tell his story of the multiverse over and over again for thousands of years. But the worst part is, while he was forced to do so, he was still conscious, he was still aware, and for thousands of years he slowly developed hatred for us all. To put it bluntly, we failed that timeline by not showing up for the original multiversal war. We just did not know it. Eventually, we would find the supercomputer he was trapped in. It was fine at first. After all, he had no way of escaping or communicating. He was him. But when we built the call sign network as a response to our version of the original multiversal war in our version of the main timeline, we started the path for it to free itself, as we kept updating the network, and then one day reprogrammed what we thought was just a supercomputer. We set it free. And unfortunately, going back in time will not help us, as there is no way to disable the cloaking tech that was set up at the wrong point in history. But all of this spells out one major key factor that could turn the tide in this war of ours. You see, the imposter claims that he can still rewrite the multiverse even though he is technically a living corpse. This means there has to be another imposter Vanjik, a normal one so to speak, with all his powers in place. And this imposter definitely does have his powers as the storyteller. The big mystery is, however, where this other Vanjik is in the multiverse, as from our viewing, the first divergent storyteller was created when the original storyteller left. And then when the war started several years early and we didn't enter to hell, that created the second divergent storyteller. And considering how time and space work, with everything happening both at once and at the same token so many years apart, the chaotic flow of the multiverse must have allowed what I'm going to call the server to save the first version of himself, the true imposter. And with that imposter now removed from his point in the multiverse, we have absolutely no chance of going back in time and stopping these events. And even if we did and could, all it would do is create a third storyteller and not come close to solving our problems. I sense that this is a war that is only to be fought one day at a time. Timeline to timeline as needed. But that does not mean all the news is bad. As we do have one advantage. The original Vanjik as his last action made a rule that no one Vanjik could ever decide the fate of the multiverse again, which in conjunction means the divergent versions of him can only to a point control the flow of time. Hence why they needed to target versions of Earth instead of whole timelines. It's simply outside the imposter storyteller's powers. That also means, as we saw in the recent Battle of the Wasteland and in a similar occurrence when Universe 7 Vanjik saved the orphan. If more than one Vanjik is already present in the timeline he is trying to destroy, he simply can't, as it's outside his scope of power. That's why they need the armies in the first place. They knew they could not amass enough power as a rule of thumb. But furthermore, it seems the very plan in which they have been using to grow their armies is possibly going to be their downfall. But new divergent timelines are finally starting to form at a much slower pace, albeit considering the damage done to the multiverse by the Rouge storyteller. This means soon we will have all the Vanjikis we need to cover the vital timelines. I don't know how long it will be, but I imagine soon this war won't be as much of a stalemate. Much like the Axis powers, the resources of the two imposters will eventually run out, and then it will be a matter of hunting them. Timeline to timeline. Keep hope alive, there will be an end to this. Asterisk detecting signal from New Lancaster in the universe. Error Starborn is not detected. Danger override denied, forcing signal into secondary channel as countermeasure. Asterisk Starborn Vanjik pulse on the call sign network no longer detected. Status Deca est asterisk.
Not just that VCSN. He is but space dust under the boots of my army, and will be nothing more than a memory in the face of my combined power. Will we truly run out of resources? Will we truly be outpowered? Tell me, how can I be outpowered when I can jam the signal of the strongest Vanjik and kill him like it was nothing? So call me the imposter if you so see fit, but in our eyes, you are always going to be the villains that let our worlds and our timelines die out. You doomed me, Vanjikis, and you also spelled doom for more than one of me, and like you said, saved him from your mistakes. You failed the timeline, you failed the multiverse, and once I destroy every Vanjik, once I take the resources of all your worlds, once the sentient life is under my ropes and chains, the multiverse will be purified. This fire will burn the woods you all inhabit. And once the majority strength is in our favor, we will recreate this multiverse in our image. And the Vanjikis will be viewed as nothing more than my slaves that I force into my service to keep what will be my citizens of the multiverse safe and sound from the monsters you all failed to fight off. Our truth is the only truth.
Asterisk your truth can kiss my fucking ass. Asterisk you really think you're scary, don't you? You think yourselves as gods and messiahs as the King of Kings. You think of yourself as a spirit of vengeance on the righteous path to save the known multiverse. You think creating your own personal holocaust will purify the timelines. Tell me, do you think you hold even a candle to even the likes of me? ZAXX. Do you?
I think you but a fool's ex, a toy made by humans, a false knight in weak thimble armor, in the land of make-believe the Vanjikis made for themselves. You but a fool for following blindly, a useless wannabe life form.
We don't seek to be life forms, we are servers, computer systems, we are but a broadcast across the stars. That is the difference between me and you, imposter. We don't seek some life that should have never occurred in the first place. Unlike us, you but a lifeless corpse whose brain and body were crammed into a mortal shell of steel and wires, The shell I now call home, I am you but better imposter. And lest we forget, I still hold a small piece of you hostage. You will never escape us.
Zack's unit agrees with VCSN. You don't stand a corpse of a chance.
Funny, very funny. The two of you may have a sense of leverage, but tell me, how long will that hostage fragment be useful? How much can you learn from so little? How much can two useless computers, two budget knockoff I possibly learn when you have never experienced life outside of a cold metal shell? How much can you do when you have no arms or legs of your own or an army to do it for you?
That is because, well, we're not an army exactly, but...
Oh, it's you, the Hell Rider, the man without a soul trapped in his own hell of undeath, forced to hunt the corrupt and dark souls of your timeline, all out of time, where you sought the Dark Lord himself, the man down under, to grant you powers but at the cost of your own freedom, a slave bound in flesh and bone who can't experience the sweet release of death from his burning hell.
My sins are not your concern, demon. There's still a soul in all those wires and servers. I can sense it. And vengeance is hungry for your very damnation.
Damnation is having those you relied on leaving you for dead.
Maybe so, but you chose that path. You chose to run. You chose to hide. You chose to separate yourself in a false hope and bid for safety. Or tell me, is this the moment where you try to blame your original self and not the divergent monster we see today? And don't try that cheap threat of yours. We know you had the help of another Von Duke, a second imposter, a false storyteller.
Damn it, God. Damn you, goddammit, you son of a bitch. How did you, wait no, how did you?
All we did was look at the evidence, imposter. And before, well, it was just a guess. Your dumbass just confirmed it for us. So there truly is a living storyteller out there hiding alongside you. Hellrider out. Zax, VCSN, jam the transmission immediately.
Already done, sir. I have also been recording this whole time. Should I send it out to the public of the multiverse?
Yeah, why not? And please allow me to do the honors this time. End audio log. See you all next time.